In the shadows she lurks, a digital sage. Her words cut through like a sharpened blade. Political cow, her voice brings rage. A rebel in the neon-born parade. With a keyboard she wields her might, piercing lies with truth's own light. Drifting through the endless night, exposing wrongs to make them right. Political cow calling out deceit through the screens where fake news meet. She saves us from the twisted tale. Her knowledge fights where logic fails. In a world where falsehoods grow, her wisdom like the wind it blows through every corner, every show. A beacon where the lost crowds glow. Political cow calling out deceit through the screens where fake news meet. She saves us from the twisted tale. Her knowledge fights where logic fails. In a cycle where truth gets blurred, her voice is the sword we've heard, cutting ties with every absurd, leading flocks with every In a world where falsehoods grow, her wisdom like the wind it blows through every corner, every show. A beacon where the lost crowds glow. Political cow calling out deceit through the screens where fake news meet. She saves us from the twisted tale. Her knowledge fights where logic fails. In a cycle where truth gets blurred, her voice is the sword we've heard, cutting ties with every absurd, leading flocks with every word.
All right. It was not without a lot of difficulty that I'm finally live, and I think we will not have any further interruptions. The unfortunate thing is I can't take guest callers now because I'm doing it through direct software that's sitting on my laptop, and I'm not running it through a cloud service at the moment. I'm just directly connecting to YouTube. But that's okay. At least it's up and running. I mean, that was a headache. I've canceled canceled that service. I'm going to start looking into a new one. They've been pretty reliable for a while. I just don't understand what happened. Literally for the past couple of nights, I will go on, everything looks fine, and then it says, oh, sorry, it was dropped. And I'm looking at, does my internet have a problem? Is this, that? I've got a brand new computer here. It's nothing hardware-wise on it. And it turned out they just have an issue that they keep looking into. And honestly, for a lot of folks that really are counting on them, pay them to keep this stuff up and running, it's not going to cut it. I have to move to a different provider. So for now, on the interim, until I can get myself fully set up, we will just directly connect into YouTube, which is fine. Just won't be able to take guests for a little bit. Was really looking forward to that. Wanted to hear a little bit more from everybody else out there on a variety of topics. And it's not just, something Trump said, the major engagement that's happening between Trump and Putin tomorrow, or is that today now? Yeah, it's pretty late. Man, I was working on this too long. It's today, I guess. There's quite a few things out there like that, and wanted to give everyone an opportunity to speak their mind, not for like debate, and I'm going to do that gotcha type stuff you might see on some other channels, right? But over here, I was just going to give you some opportunity. I might ask a couple of questions, but you know, realistically, just wanted to see what was on people's minds out there. So the poll we have out there: will there be peace? Will there be a truce that's achieved? I don't know. Let me know what you guys think. Go ahead and complete the poll. But without further ado, I've got a couple of things that I want to look at with you guys. First, Trump had another press session today. It's supposed to be commemorating the 90th anniversary of Social Security. Oh wait, we got a comment here. Steve 1408 says, "Show your face." Is that your face, Steve? Let me zoom in on this. I don't know what's going on here. Let me check out what's going on here. Okay. Well, I guess that won't work. I was going to say, no, you show your face, but okay. Anyway, whatever. It's my gimmick. Let me have my gimmick. So we got that. Gavin Newsom gave a speech, which there was quite the warm-up act before him. I had like 6, 7, 8 people had to give their own little talks until Gavin came out there. I don't know, maybe he was in the potty and they needed to buy some time before he could get out there. But he gave a talk, and it was laying out his plans to address or to fight back. In his words, they're always fighting. I don't know why. The liberals are always fighting. When they give concession speeches, we're not going to stop fighting. You should not stop fighting. It's like, Lord have mercy. Like, take a break. Chill out, guys. But his speech was interesting because, of course, it did speak to what's going on in Texas and his response that he wants to give in California. But it was more delivered like he is seeing himself as the candidate for the Democrat Party going forward. Like he is the man. Jane says, God's grace this week for President Trump to be wise with world leaders, create a miracle, Lord. Save these young men's lives too. Yeah. I'm hopeful that everyone is kind of going for that. So I appreciate your sentiment, Jane. And see, it's stuff like that I wish I can't do it tonight, but very soon I want to get my my call-in line up and running again. It's not a phone number. It's basically a link. You can check it out right now. It's not going to connect to me. It's guest.politicalcow.com. You just go there, click on it, and then it turns into like a little mini Zoom meeting. You just have like a one-on-one connection into the program at that point. But we got to reset and change all that up. Very unfortunate. Anyway, like and subscribe, guys. I'm going to get Trump going, talking on this. Of course, he wants to do this session about the 90th anniversary of Social Security. The press won't let him just focus in on that. Of course, they're going to throw other things at him, hoping to catch him on one thing or another. Outlaw Joy, very much appreciate the flags and everything. Very nice. Very appreciative of that. All right, let's go. The poll is 50-50. Oh, only 6 votes. Come on, guys. If you're in here, vote. Let's see what you think. I'm hoping for some, at a minimum, an initial ceasefire and an initial set of actions. Like, we will withdraw from here, and this will be conceded on our side. This will be, maybe it's not everything, because it's a lot of stuff to iron out, but it'll at least be something. Is my thought on that. All right, let's get Trump going here.
How are you? How are you? Are you all set? How are you? Thank you very much for being with us. It's a good time for this country. We have the hottest country anywhere in the world. I think you're hearing it from a lot of people, not just from me. We're doing very well in so many ways. And the gentleman on my right, we recruited him. We tried to get the best person, we got a man that you'll hear in a second has done an amazing job with respect to Social Security. He's running it, and he's running it like nobody ever even dreamt possible. And it's the 90th anniversary right now of Social Security. So today we celebrate that 90th anniversary of one of the most significant pieces of legislation ever signed into law, the Social Security Act of 1935, and we're going to make it stronger, bigger and better, really doing a job. In the campaign, I made a secret pledge to our seniors that I would always protect Social Security, and under this administration, we're keeping that promise and strengthening Social Security for generations to come. You keep hearing stories that in 6 years, 7 years, Social Security will be gone, and it will be if the Democrats ever get involved, because they don't know what they're doing. But it's going to be around a long time with us. Very much, you'll be surprised to hear some of the numbers. I'm delighted to be joined by the Commissioner of the Social Security Administration, Frank Bisignano. Oh, in the world of business, in fact, I wrote some of the little things down that he's had an amazing, he was Chief Operating Officer of JP Morgan Chase. He worked for Jamie Dimon. And Jamie Dimon said that it was amazing. So think of that, Chief Operating Officer, J.P. Morgan Chase, had a storied career. Then he went to First Data.
What does that mean?
For those in the business.
Dano, what does absolute waffle mean? If anybody else knows, let me know. I've not heard that phrase before. Absolute waffle. I mean, is that the special at the Waffle House? I mean, what is that?
As you know, it's the largest payment company anywhere in the world, and it worked for Henry Kravis, and it was in big trouble. He took it over as CEO. He made it incredible. They merged with Fiserv, and he became CEO of that, and that became extremely successful. I was in Milwaukee. I guess they have the Milwaukee Arena, and where we had some good success and some good speeches. But he's a really legendary guy, and he wanted to do this. I mean, he just wanted to straighten out Social Security because he loves our country. And what he's done in a few months is amazing. Almost 60 million American seniors rely on Social Security for peace of mind and a life of dignity and retirement. These Americans paid into the system, and they deserve leaders in Washington who are going to protect the benefits they've had and protect Social Security. Under Biden, Social Security went down like nobody's ever seen. It deteriorated. There's never been anything like it. The 4 years of Biden were very, very destructive. It couldn't have gone on much longer. Social Security was going to be destroyed. It was being destroyed. The average call wait time reached an all-time high of more than 42 minutes. Field office wait times were at 32 minutes, which is unheard of, and the disability claims backlog was the longest ever in recorded history. In other words, it was run just like the country was run. It was run really badly. But I'm pleased to report that under our leadership, and Frank in particular, the changes he's made and what he's done is sort of a miracle. Sort of like what happened with the country as a whole. Field office wait times are now down 30% since last year, and it looks like it's going to a total record number. And the record was set in a long time ago when the world was a lot different place, and we're gonna beat that record. Call wait times are down 73% while serving twice as many customers per day. The disability claims backlog is down 26%, and seniors now have 24/7 online access to their accounts, which they never had before, whereas under Biden, the website was down 29 hours a week for maintenance purposes. It was essentially not open very much. They were always maintaining it, but they didn't know what the hell they were doing. They had a person running that had no idea.
Dion, who are you talking about? Why
Among my
hasn't
very first
he been
acts
arrested?
was to
Are you
order
talking about Joe
all
Biden?
government employees to return to the office or be removed from the job, which means our
Impeccable
Social Security offices
timing.
are now open for full business hours, 5 days a week. So unlike being shut down all the time, we're open at record levels also. We're making it really great for the people that want and demand Social Security.
Hey guys, help
They
me
paid
out.
into
Give the
the
live a
system.
like.
They deserve it. Last month,
we'll get more engagement going in the future with guest call-ins. We're just having some technical difficulties right now.
Okay, so how's that? Not bad, right? No tax on Social Security for our seniors. And to protect our benefits, we've already kicked nearly 275,000 illegal aliens off of the Social Security system. These are people, many of them have already left the country, and yet we were sending them checks all the time. And 275,000, and that number is now even larger than that, Frank. It's an unbelievable job. And what that's doing is making the system strong. It's making it strong. Biden never kicked anybody off. Everybody joined. And we're carrying out historic deportations to remove many more illegals committing Social Security fraud. It's the Social Security fraud that was taking place at levels that nobody's ever seen. We cleared 12.4 million names listed in the Social Security database over 120 years of age. Think of that. So we had 12.4 million names where they were over 120 years old. Is that right? That's a hell of a statement. I have a feeling, Dan, that's not really gonna, that really didn't happen, did it? So you have 12.4 million names listed in the Social Security database that were over 120 years of age, meaning you were breaking records, because I've never heard of anybody at 125. There were nearly 135,000 people listed who are over 160 years old, and in some cases getting payments. So somebody's getting those payments, and we're after that.
Sorry,
we're also fighting the menace of inflation to make life more affordable for American seniors, and we've ended Biden's inflation nightmare. So we had the worst inflation in the history of our country, and now our inflation is down to a perfect number, a beautiful number, hardly any at all. And yet our country's taking in tens.
All right, let's take a look at the chat real quick. How anyone could possibly believe anything he says, says Ave Marie. Daily Sip, that's so not true. Palm in the face, Kevin. Lies, says Eric Parker. Biden pushed for a tax on Social Security. Do your research. Ooh, very interesting. M says lies quite a few times there. Hide your face. Coward, says Alexandra Brown. I don't think Trump's going to hide his face. He's going to be out in the open, like, constantly. Oh, no. Yeah, Alexandra Brown says hide your face, coward. So, yeah, he's probably not going to do that. I mean, he wasn't big on the face coverings either during COVID. Eric Parker says, jail, what an embarrassment. Alligator Alcatraz, all distractions. You wish he was lying. Says, list, says Gilberto. Oh, he's giving you a big list of things right now. Really big list of good things. Birds of a feather. All right. All right, let's keep him going. The QA is going to be great.
And trillions of dollars, actually, trillions of dollars in tariffs. And you know all about it. It's been amazing. They say, why are we taking in so much money? Last week, they found $29 billion and they couldn't figure out where it came from. I said, check the tariff shelf. And they said, how did you know that's where it came from? We're taking in billions and even trillions of dollars in tariffs, paid by other countries who, frankly, were taking advantage of us for many, many years. And they were doing that to us, but our people didn't know it. We didn't have smart business people. We've ended Biden's inflation nightmare and came in below expectations, and yet, again, this...
I think Alexandra was just having a bad day. Let's send some positive vibes over to Alexandra. So I hope their day improves.
This month we set records. Gasoline prices are way down, and really dramatically, as everybody knows, and energy prices have been going down, other than in certain states where you have Democrat-run states where they put windmills all over the place. Anytime you see a windmill, you'll say, well, they have bad energy costs, and it's happening in New Jersey. I saw that there's a revolution going on in New Jersey. They closed up a nuclear power plant, and they're raising electricity rates by 21, 22, and 28%, something like that. And you're going to have a new governor in New Jersey. I tell you what, you have a good man running in the Republican Party. He'll get them down. But what they've done is they've killed so many good sources of energy for very expensive windmills and lots of other things that don't work. 401ks and retirement accounts are soaring, and the stock market is setting record highs. Almost every day we're going record highs, and yet we're taking in hundreds of billions of dollars in tariffs. So it's turned out that Trump was right and they were wrong. A few smart people knew what was going to happen. A few of us were right. So we're going to keep the fighting going. We're going to make America's seniors every single day.
Yeah, that's pretty interesting. Where is that comment? I lost it. Where'd it go? On Trump's Speedo man says that Trump and his family business is going to have the highest ROI over the next 4 years. He's going to retire richer than all other presidents combined. If that is the case, I think we have a stock picker among us here.
We're going to fight for them. We're going to make them richer, better, stronger in so many different ways. But Social Security is like pretty much the one that we think about, and we love it, and we love what's happening with it. And it's going to be good for 90 years and beyond. Again, you were given only a short period of time. Social Security was supposed to be like down. Had they won the election, Social Security would have defaulted during Biden or Kamala's election, whoever they so chose. Two beauties. And now what I'd like to do is ask Frank to say a few words. Again, this is a man with a really storied past. He's one of the most successful anywhere in the world. What he did at J.P. Morgan Chase and what he did for Henry Kravis and all of the others are like legendary stories. And he just wanted to do this. He's making about a tiny fraction, I would say, a tiny fraction of what you used to make. But he didn't care. He wanted to do it. He made a lot of money. And he said, I want to run that system. I want to put it back on track. And he's got an unbelievable talent over there. It's like a different place. So, Frank, would you say a few words, please? Thank you.
There's less than 1% tiny fraction, sir.
Is that what it is, less than one? That's a tiny
It's
fraction.
an honor. It's an honor. It is an honor. And I'd like to start off by thanking the President for his tireless effort in running the country, in what he's done across the country, meeting every commitment. And, you know, I see it directly in the big, beautiful bill, the opportunity that it's brought to seniors. But his effort on every commitment, delivering against it, and delivering on world peace tirelessly. I'd like to also thank him for my opportunity. You know, he's teasing me, I'm teasing him about the economics of the job. But the reality is to serve 300 million Americans, which is what Social Security serves, is a tremendous honor. And him putting that faith in me and building what I believe, and I think I have a right to say it, is the best leadership team ever assembled in the White House and in the cabinet. So that's my great honor. So I come here and get the opportunity to serve the American public in a manner that I never imagined in my life. And what we found was the opportunity to fix a foundation. The reality is, people talk about 72 beneficiaries. I talk about over 300 million Americans with a Social Security number that we must protect through the system. And when you look at what we talk about in eliminating Social Security numbers that were live in the system, they could carry fraud through the whole system. So the first thing was root out fraud, waste, and abuse. But while doing it, the best way to be more efficient is provide more accurate payments and better service. And you heard the numbers.
Yeah, as they're going through a little bit of detail on Social Security, I see some talk on windmills in the chat. They do require subsidy from the government when it's not windy. whatever population is reliant on those windmills for power is going to default to a fossil fuel, hopefully natural gas, because that burns quite a bit cleaner than a number of other alternatives. In Texas, it's probably been 3 years ago now, we had the great freeze, and the entire state froze. The electric grid shut down for the entire state, basically. The reason was that the windmills froze, completely came to a stop, and folks did not invest on that scenario or invest in ways for the grid to be more resilient. So there's a lot of things problematic about the windmills.
I think the most staggering number is that we had a website that was down 29 hours. This will be a digital-first agency, and we are building my SSA accounts. That's the digital account. And we have a bold goal of 200 million Americans to have a digital SSA account by the end of next year. It will happen. Just like we had a bold goal of single-digit wait time on the calls when they were at 40 minutes. And we did that. This is my 100th day. We did that within 90 days, right? Get the web up and running, bring technology to our field offices, use digital presence to answer, and serve the American public. That's the job. When we do all that, then we'll really know the answer to if we have a hole, right? I was presented in my second week on the job with $18 billion in errors by the Inspector General. It was public. In less than a month, we solved 9 billion of it. So that's the type of swift action we can take, right? You see the things like the big, beautiful bill for the seniors. You see better digital services. You see field office wait times down. If you make an appointment to have a field office visit, it now happens in 6 minutes. Unprecedented. We are serving more people and delivering more than was ever delivered before in a manner with the highest possible quality, and we've just begun. You should expect this to be a great digital-first agency. My commitment.
All right, I'm going to try to fast forward a little bit to Trump. This guy's
the president's commitment to make the world a great.
Speaks like RFK, but does not have the same charisma. All right, here we go. Signing.
And also the incredible accomplishments of your administration, fixing and promoting and safeguarding Social Security. And it also obviously mentions the fact that as part of the One Big Beautiful Bill, a vast majority of our senior citizens are no longer paying taxes on their Social Security benefits, as you promised in your campaign and as you delivered for the American people.
That's a big factor, isn't it? Huh?
Yes, sir.
That's great. I think they're very happy about it, too. They're very happy about a lot of things. Good job, Frank.
Thank you, sir.
And Frank has brought with him some of the most talented people in business, and they were making a lot of money, but they made a lot of money. They had money they didn't have to make anymore, and they just want to do this. They want to have our country become strong and good, and that's what's happening. And we're doing that in a lot of locations, a lot of areas. You deal with some of the people that are commissioners, that are secretaries of state, of secretaries of treasury and of commerce, people that were really, really successful people, and they gave all that up to make a very small amount of money. They don't even consider it a fraction. You say 1%, less than 1%. That's pretty good. That's a big pay cut. But Frank is one of the most outstanding of all. His career has been incredible, and you just have to look at what happened at J.P. Morgan Chase and look at what happened with First Data. First Data was the biggest company of its kind in the world, but it was not going to make it. He went in, and it became a tremendous success, and merged into another company, and he became the head of that company. Then he said, let me go save Social Security, because as big as that stuff is, it's small potatoes compared in terms of numbers, right? In terms of numbers, these are big numbers. Government numbers are big numbers. So I want to thank everybody for being here, but I'm really proud of you, Frank. And here's your proclamation, and let's take a look at what that looks like. Signed by the human hand. For a change. That's good, right? Do you have any questions for Frank?
Here we
How
go.
about questions for Frank? For
Mr.
Frank?
President?
Yes, on Social Security.
Please.
First and foremost, this was a major campaign promise that you had. 2023, it was one of the first Agenda 47s that you put out. It was titled, "We Must Protect Medicare
Right.
and Social Security." Why was this important for both of you to get done, and given the fact that it'll impact millions of lives?
Well, it was very important to me because I knew how Social Security, I've been hearing about it for years, long before I came to office, that it was really going to die very shortly, and I had to put somebody outstanding in. And we were talking. I was talking to him on a business sense once, and I said, "This guy's amazing." And he said, "I'd love to help you with Social Security because it's sort of what he does. You know, he takes troubled entities and turns them around." And he did some of the biggest messes in the world, and Social Security in a certain way, I guess. You know, you reported it all the time. In 4 or 5 years, it's going to go bust, but not anymore. It's not. And he's got it turned around so well. The proclamation helps. All of the things we've done help. And he's finding such tremendous fraud where we have illegal aliens. We have people that don't even exist on Social Security now. They don't exist. And what it does, it makes it totally secure and powerful for the people that are on it and need it. And we're very proud of the job he's done, one of the best.
Kara Castro from Lindell TV. How are you today, sir? Democrats like Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren continue to peddle the lie and the claim that you're trying to cut Social Security, despite your repeated promises to protect it. Why do you think they keep pushing this misinformation and literally terrorizing the elderly in America that sadly keep watching the very misleading mainstream media?
I love your question. I should have called you almost first, but I love his questions also, always. But it's such a good question. It's so vicious what they do. Elizabeth Warren said she was an Indian. We call her Pocahontas. She's a liar.
Oh, this is beautiful.
She lied her whole career. Based on the fact that she was an Indian, she was able to get into certain colleges, get certain jobs, get into certain universities to work there. She's a liar and a mean person. She's a nut job. I watched her the other night. She's all hopped up endorsing a communist in New York City. And she was all excited and jumping up and down. She's got to take a drug test. She really does. She's got to take a drug test. There's no way somebody can act that way and be normal. What she's done to our financial institutions, he destroys people. You know that you had a lot of great banks in the Midwest and banks that loaned to farmers and others, and they went out of business. She put them out of business. Stone cold mean. Banks that were open 150 years, family banks that supplied the farmers and manufacturers and others, and she put them out of business. She's a mean, horrible human being. Bernie Sanders is Bernie Sanders. I don't mind him so much. He's just a liberal guy, very liberal guy. He's a wacky guy. He's still showing.
All right, so let me look at the chat here. Slow down, chat. Slow down for a second. All right. D Black says he's a liar and a racist. His cabinet has to take a drug test. Okay. Assertions? Credible? I don't know. I don't think so. I haven't seen anything to support that. It's beautiful. Yes, it is a big, beautiful bill. Definitely. All right. Trump believes windmills will be the end of us. They're not practical, and things that aren't surviving or able to stand on their own. That's what he's after. Those things need to go away. He hit Elon with it too, right? The subsidies that went to electric cars, those are going. Where did that comment go? Doggone it, I missed it. Okay, here we go. Route 99, Political Cow, which is, by the way, the name of the show. You can call me Senor Moo. Why are you okay with all of the Trump lies? You'll have to be a little more specific which talking points you felt he was being, disingenuous or not forthcoming on. I don't see anything here that's not...
I got to tell you, he's 86 or 87
Not fully,
or something. He's still sharp. You compare that to Joe Biden, it's, sort of what happened. So I don't mind Bernie Sanders. With him, you know what you're getting. You're getting a guy, he's a nasty guy, but he's somebody that, I don't know if I call it a fastball, but he's he's able to throw the ball pretty well. He's okay. I watched him the other day. He was totally on the opposite side of things. I will say this, the biggest issue right now, and an issue that's really taken hold, is crime, stopping crime in the cities, and the Democrats are fighting the stopping of crime. So I think that's like men playing in women's sports is okay, or transgender for everybody okay. But this is a bigger issue. This is the biggest of all issues. Crime is rampant in D.C. It's rampant in our generally blue-run cities. And they've got to do something about it, or they're never going to win another election. And instead of calling me a dictator, they like to say Trump's a dictator. Trump's a dictator. Well, I had calls from many, many friends, including Democrats. I have a lot of Democrat friends, but they're normal people. And they were thanking me so much for what I'm doing in D.C. They feel so safe already. And, you know, at the border, we had 0 people come in, and this is done by a liberal group. They're the people that do it. I have nothing to do with it. 0 people in 3 months. We had 0, 0, and 0 for 3 months. And last year we had millions of people pouring in from all countries, from jails, from drug addicts, gang members, drug dealers by the thousands and thousands. 11,888 murderers, half of whom committed more than one murder. They flowed into our country. And for the last 3 months, we had none. And I didn't remember when Joe Biden used to always go, I need legislation. I had no legislation. I just said, we're closing the borders. And the whole world understood it because they respect your country again. They really respect this country again. They didn't respect it when he...
You know, some of these things, too, you don't really need legislation. You need direction. The lack of direction, which is what was happening under Biden, caused a lot of chaos, caused a lot of things to kind of run into each other, run over each other, double up on one another. He's providing direction as the executive of the United States. He directs what those agencies and departments do, don't do, enforce, so forth. Well, they have to enforce the law, which also that's been problematic, that it has not been for quite some time. But these are all within his remit. The idea that additional legislation is required for any little move is I think ridiculous, because if that is the case, then why have a president? Just have your legislature and live off of that.
It didn't mean anything, but now they know it meant a lot. And Mexico does what we tell them to do, and Canada does what we tell them to do, because we had the 2 borders. We have the northern border, southern border, and they were both horrible. But now it's some people say it's a miracle. Well, what Frank has done with Social Security also is something very special. But what we're doing with crime, which will be your next question, I guess, that's because everyone's they're afraid. Half of the people here, maybe all of the people here, most of you live in D.C.
All right, tariffs in the long term, I think we actually need them. So here's the deal. Hopefully you guys have heard Trump be really critical and hard on India, say in the past week. And it was primarily driven by India making massive purchases of Russian oil, effectively funding their war efforts in Ukraine. And so he kind of anchored in on that. He anchored in on them not being fair and competitive with their open markets. But there's still a lot of emphasis on manufacturing. The gap right now, and I've written my representatives, and I think you guys should too. I think we should all be aligned around this one. This is not controversial. I think this is a pretty straightforward topic. The big issue here, if you really want to think of national security, kind of guaranteeing a future for our kids, STEM jobs, science, technology, engineering, math, the STEM jobs that we've pushed kids to get degrees in over the years, software engineers, so forth, all of that, there has been massive outsourcing beyond what had been happening historically in the last, say, 2-3 years that'll extend through 2030. Effectively, 6 million people in the workforce will be displaced. Major multinational corporations, there's 1,700 of them that have done this already. They're setting up global capability centers. They term them as GCCs. They're setting them up in India, and they outsource jobs. People have to train their replacements, and everything goes over there. So you have a software engineer here, you have a software engineer there. Labor arbitrage. it'll come back to bite India, because AI will eventually relieve the need for any of them, right? You can have just some experts here and you're good to go at that point. What would have once took 6 months to develop from a software engineering standpoint, maybe takes 6 days, right? And then you just maybe need a couple of weeks to test and to review and so forth, and you're good to go. But that is not spoken of, and that is going to have a massive shift, because now it's not just, the middle to lower that's being affected by manufacturing, let's say. Now it's the middle to upper middle that's getting hit. The largest tax base that's out there, the most reliable voters for any party, and by reliable, I mean they go out and vote consistently. That's who's getting hit, and it's being completely ignored. So national security-wise, why would you want to outsource innovation? Why would you not want to have the capability to do high-tech stuff in the United States? That's very problematic to me, whomever has decided that we're going to let this thing fly. So write your representatives, senators. I think this is a massive issue. It's not just about jobs, because now cybersecurity gets shipped off overseas. Oh, we rely on a different country for that capability or this capability, and we're not self-sufficient again. So we're not self-sufficient in creating products, tangible products that we hold. But then if we're not self-sufficient in being the big thinkers and the big, ideas come externally to us, what position does that leave us in? Are we actually going to be worse off at that point? Which is then why the national security discussion comes into play for me. So I'm advocating for you guys to go out there and contact your senators, do a little bit of research. There's a lot of it out there. There still stands millions of jobs to be displaced between running from now through 2030, and there's no end in sight. I mean, how they're going now, you might just have a CEO and then a capability center. Like I don't know what else happens to companies now.
You are petrified to go out, and you're liberal, and if you're liberal, you're going to have to change your Democrats. You're going to have to change your ways. So we will have crime under control very shortly in D.C., but they're record numbers, and sadly what I guess the mayor did, but whoever it was, they asked the numbers to be fudged so that it would show less crime than the fact. The fact is it's worse than it's ever been, and we will have it just like we did at the border, where with borders are totally in great shape right now, the best ever, record-setting shape. We'll have the crime situation solved in D.C. very soon. And we're also going to beautify the city. We have a beautiful city, but you can't have graffiti, and you can't have roads with potholes, and you can't have the medians, the dividers in the roads falling down on the street. We're going to be beautifying the city, making it really beautiful. We're going to be getting the criminals the hell out of here. We don't want the criminals in Washington, D.C.
Mr. President, one on your Putin meeting and then one on D.C. crime. Are you prepared to offer Vladimir Putin access to rare minerals to incentivize him to end the war?
We're going to see what happens with our meeting. We have a big meeting. It's going to be, I think, very important for Russia, and it's going to be very important for us, and important for us only that we're going to save a lot of lives. Look, we have, we're not paying any money, as you know, to Ukraine. We're supplying equipment. We're being paid 100% plus for that equipment by NATO. And I got NATO up from 2% to 5% of GDP. They now have billions of dollars. NATO is a very rich group of countries, and we make the best military equipment anywhere in the world by far, and they're buying our equipment, and they're paying 100% for the equipment, 100%. In fact, they owe us about $2 billion now. They're going to send a check. Another one was sent recently for $1 billion. So we're not spending any money anymore. Biden gave them $350 billion, got nothing for it. And if you look, and by the way, we also signed a rare earth deal where we get, years of rare earth to get our money back, the money we spent. But what I'm really doing this for is to save thousands of soldiers a week. You have Russian soldiers, you have Ukrainian soldiers, and then you'll have missiles dropped into various cities and towns in Ukraine. And they're losing last week they lost 7,251 people, mostly soldiers, Russian and Ukrainian soldiers. I'm doing it for that reason. We have a meeting. with President Putin tomorrow. I think it's going to be a good meeting, but the more important meeting will be the second meeting that we're having. We're going to have a meeting with President Putin, President Zelensky, myself, and maybe we'll bring some of the European leaders along, maybe not. I don't know that it's going to be very important. We're going to see what happens. And
guys, I'll be right back. I'm going to let this play. I just need to get a little bit more tea. I will be right back, but keeps the dialogue going. And don't forget, like, subscribe, do all that stuff. Share this with other people. Send a little gift if you'd like, but I will return in just a moment.
I think President Putin will make peace. I think President Zelensky will make peace. We'll see if they can get along. And if they can, it'll be great. You know, I've solved 6 wars in the last 6 months, a little more than 6 months now, and I'm very proud of it. I thought the easiest one would be this one. It's actually the most difficult. We had one war raging, as you know, for 37 years. One in the Congo with Rwanda was raging for 31 years. We solved 6 of them, made peace, not just solved them, we made peace. If you look at Pakistan and India, that was, planes were being knocked out of the air. 6 or 7 planes came down. They were ready to go, maybe nuclear, we solved that. I thought this would be maybe an easier one. It never made sense, this war. It would have never happened when I was president. If I were president, this war would have never happened. But millions of people have been killed. And I'm there for one reason, to see if I can solve. This was Biden's war. This isn't my war. I want to see if I can stop the killing. Yeah.
Rare earths, do you plan to offer him access to that at all?
We have great rare earth. We made that as payment for all of the money that we've spent so foolishly in Ukraine. We spent $350 billion. Now Europe spent $1 billion. That's a lot of money. They spent $100 billion. That's a lot of money. But we shouldn't be spending a lot more money than them, and they understand that. And I think that's maybe why we're not spending money anymore. We're not spending any money. They're paying us for everything. So people are shocked when they hear it. They don't even understand. They don't even write about it. But we're not spending money, but we are spending a lot of time trying to get the war solved. If we can get the war solved, we'll be very happy. As far as rare earth, that's very unimportant relative. I'm trying to save lives.
And on DC crime, sir, on DC crime.
Do you have a message for the Democrat lawmakers like Nancy Pelosi or media who are saying, after living here for many years, that there is no crime and you're trying to start a new news cycle?
It's another reason why the Democrats lost the election in a landslide. They lie. It's just lie. Look, the crime is very bad. I think they'd be much better off saying, we want to help President Trump with the crime because it's an epidemic. It's a tragic situation. It's the worst it's ever been. And we want to help President Trump with the crime, as opposed to, he's a dictator. He's a dictator. People are so happy to see our military going into D.C. and getting these thugs out. As you know, we arrested a lot of people yesterday. We arrested a lot of people today. We're getting people that have arrest records that you wouldn't believe. 28 arrests, 15 arrests, brutal, brutal people. And we're going to have to do something about this cashless bail, because people shoot somebody, they kill somebody, and they're out on the street in less than an hour. Now, that's when it's all started in New York, in Chicago, Los Angeles. You take a look. If we didn't go to Los Angeles to help this incompetent governor and a mayor that doesn't know what the hell she's doing, if we didn't go to Los Angeles, you wouldn't have a big part of it burned down. The other part of it would have burned down too. You would have not had, I don't think you would have been able to have the Olympics. We have the Olympics. I have a lot at stake with that because I'm the one that got the Olympics. I got it in my first term, and I was saddened because I got it for what would be my third term, okay, which turned out to be second term. And the Olympics, it's a great honor, but I felt badly because I said I won't be president when the Olympics came. Well, through circumstance, I am president. I want to make sure the Olympics is great, the World Cup is great, and the 250, maybe the most important of all, is the 250-year celebration is great. So what's happening is we will work very hard. You would not have had, I don't believe that if I didn't send in the troops, I don't think you would have had Los Angeles in condition to have the Olympics. I think you would have had to tell them, I'm sorry, you're going to have to go someplace else. And if you look at the police commissioner or the sheriff, He said we really needed them. Thank God they were here. We really needed them. That was the first 2 or 3 days after we solved their problems. Then he said, well, I think we could have maybe done it. No, he was told what to say. He said, you go back to your files and see what he said. He said, thank goodness they came. If I didn't go and put our military there, or National Guard in that case, and we'll go military if we have to, but the National Guard went there. They were very effective. If we didn't do that, I don't think you would have had the Olympics in Los Angeles. The place would have been just like the 25,000 houses that burned down, where, by the way, the governor ought to focus on getting their permits. You know, the federal permits are given. Those are the hard ones, and they were given a long time ago. People can't rebuild their house because they can't get permits from the state and the city, and they ought to focus on that because it's very upsetting. I went there right after the fires. I walked the streets, and I met a lot of great people that want to rebuild their homes. We took care of it from the federal standpoint, but they're not taking care of it from the city, the mayor, and the governor. They're not getting their permits. They can't build their houses.
Mr. President, on DC crime.
Go ahead, please.
Mr. President, thank you. Do you think this summit and the incentives for peace you are putting on the table could end up rewarding Putin for his invasion of Ukraine? And what kind of signal do you think that could potentially send to other aggressors?
No, I don't think it's a reward. I think that what we have is a situation that should never have started, should have never started. It didn't start under me, and for 4 years it wasn't even discussed. And I could see it was going to happen after I left. I could see what was happening. Everything that we did was wrong. Everything that was done was wrong. Everybody's to blame. Putin's to blame. They're all to blame. This is a war that would have never happened.
The other question on LA, Mr. President, earlier today, the Washington, D.C. police chief issued an executive order allowing metropolitan police officers conducting traffic stops to notify federal immigration and customs enforcement about undocumented immigrants that they encounter. Yet the city has a long-standing pro-immigration policy, including allowing non-citizens to vote in local elections.
Which is ridiculous.
And limiting cooperation with federal immigration agencies.
Right.
Did your administration pressure the D.C. police chief to review and repeal these policies? And will you require other cities to roll back similar policies to avoid possible federal takeover of local law enforcement?
So what you're saying is that it was a very positive thing. When they stop people, they find they're illegal, they report them, they give them to us, etc. That's a very positive thing. I have heard that. It just happened. That's a great step. That's a great step if they're doing that. Yeah, I think that's going to happen all over the country. We want to stop crime. I think if the Democrats aren't strong on this issue, they won't be able to do it. I think this is a bigger issue than all of the other ridiculous things that they, like open borders. Well, open borders is bad. Open borders has caused a lot of this problem, allowing millions and millions. I think 24 million people were allowed to come into our country. Many of these people from prisons, from jails, from mental institutions. This was the Biden policy, and I don't believe it was him. He was never there before. It was the people that encircled this very beautiful desk, the Resolute desk. Radical left lunatics who were smart, but radical left. And I'm very happy to hear what you just said, because I've heard that.
And Mr. President, on LA, if I may, the mother of a 15-year-old California boy was briefly detained at gunpoint in a case of mistaken identity. The LAUSD superintendent says that surveillance video shows armed agents wearing police and border patrol insignia. Given the National Guard, the Border Control, ICE agents, they're not trained in local policing. What specific steps are you taking to ensure that young people are not put in harm's way with these types of operations?
Yeah, what they are trained in is common sense, and they're very tough people. And they have great common sense, and they are highly trained. I heard the mayor of LA was saying, oh, they're not trained this way. I heard this character from, where was he from? They talk about him as a candidate. He's got no chance. The governor of Maryland, I watched him this morning saying that the governor of Maryland, yeah, they say maybe he'll be a president. He's not presidential timber at all. But I heard him today talking about how the National Guard or the military is not trained in police, but they're trained in common sense, and they're trained in not allowing people to burn down buildings and bomb buildings and shoot people and all of the things. They've done a great job. Again, if we didn't send them, and very importantly, if we didn't send them into Los Angeles, the rest of Los Angeles would have been burned down to the ground. when you look at Minnesota, Minneapolis, I sent them into Minneapolis because the governor wouldn't make the call. If I didn't do that, you wouldn't have a Minneapolis. It wouldn't be, I don't think it would be existent today. You remember the famous scene burning over the CNN anchor's shoulder? He said, everything seems to be very peaceful. And behind him, the whole city's burning down. So you had the whack job governor who ran for vice president, who made a fool out of himself. You would have had, I saved that city, I'll tell you, I saved that city. So the bottom line is these are very tough people that are trained in a thing called common sense, and they're also trained in doing what we're talking about right now. And you watch crime stop, but you wouldn't have Los Angeles. It wouldn't be existent today. We would have had to cancel the Olympics if I let that go on.
Mr. President, will you pressure Israel to allow journalists into Gaza to cover the humanitarian efforts the U.S. is pursuing? And
I'd like to see that happen, sure.
Would you pressure?
I would like to see it happen. I would be very fine with journalists going in. It's a very dangerous position to be in, as you know, if you're a journalist, but I would like to see it.
And on tariffs, Brazil, Mexico, and Latin America are getting closer to China, and they say it's partly because of the tariffs you're imposing in those countries. Are you concerned them getting closer to China?
No, not at all. I'm not concerned at all. They can do what they want. None of them are doing very well, and what we're doing in terms of economics, we're blowing everyone away, including China. We're doing better than any other country in the world right now. Brazil has been a horrible trading partner in terms of tariffs. As you know, they charge us tremendous tariffs, far, far more than we were charging them. We weren't charging anything, essentially. And Brazil has some very bad laws happening where they took a president and they put him in jail, or they're trying to jail him. And I happen to know the man, and I will tell you, I'm pretty good at people. I think he's an honest man. I think what they've done, this is really a political execution that they're trying to do with Bolsonaro. I think that's terrible. But they also treated us very badly as trading partners for many, many years. One of the worst countries on earth for that. They charged tremendous tariffs, and they made it very difficult to do anything. So now they're being charged 50% tariffs, and they're not happy, but that's the way it goes.
Mr. President, on DC crime, sir, on DC crime, are you concerned at all that some federal officers that are helping DC police might be being pulled away from other high priority assignments?
Like what? Like what?
Terrorism, for example.
Oh, really? Terrorism? They'll stop terrorism as part of what they're doing right now. No. The soldiers that we have, first of all, we have plenty of them, long beyond what that you have here. We're just using a very small force. You know, in Washington, D.C., they have thousands of police. They have a lot of police, but the police weren't allowed to do their job. We have a lot of great ones, and you have some that weren't so good, to be honest, but they weren't allowed to do their job. But now they are allowed to do their job, and essentially it's only 2 days, but you look at the numbers already, they're dropping. And no, they're not being pulled off for anything.
Mr. President, as you know, there were some very concerning reports about crime statistics. Police are manipulating crime data to downplay crime in D.C. Will the administration release its own crime statistics to counter their misinformation? And will those individuals who are intentionally misrepresenting crime data and fudging the books, like you said, be penalized for endangering the public?
They are under investigation right now. They are giving us phony crime stats, just like they gave other stats in the financial world, but they're phony crime stats. And Washington, D.C. is at its worst point, and it will soon be at its best point. You're going to have a very safe, you're going to have a crime-free city. I mean, I say that. You're going to have virtually a crime-free city. And these are strong men, but the criminals are strong men and women. But
thank you for the gifts.
And these are people that don't play games. We're not playing games. These are criminals we're dealing with. And they treated people. They took one of the people that worked for us the other day. You saw the beating, the pounding, 10 against 1. And they pounded the hell out of him. He's lucky to be alive. He's barely, almost killed. And we're not going to have that happening, please.
Tulsi Gabbard declassified more documents last night related to the Russiagate hoax.
She's doing a great job, by the way. That was another fake story. I'm very happy with the job she's doing. That's right. They declassified some terrible documents talking about Democrats and what they did. Radical left lunatics.
It showed that then DNI James Clapper sent out emails to IC officials saying that it would be a team sport to push then the debunked 2017 ICA report, and that it might need them to compromise on their normal modalities. What's your reaction to the latest declassification, and in your view, sir, what does real accountability look like for the players?
It's incredible what we're finding, absolute proof of guilt, and we'll see what happens. But Clapper and Comey and that whole group of criminals, they're criminals, and they made it very tough. You know, they did the fake Russia witch hunt that lasted for 2 years, and I got totally exonerated. There was no doubt about it. They should have done it in 1 day, not 2 years, but it was a whole scheme to try and demean Trump so that I couldn't win an election. And that is a criminal group of people. They're sick people, and they're criminals, and they should be taken care of.
Mr. President, does Putin have a strong hand tomorrow?
Well, he came to our country, and I heard CNN fake news talking about that was a big win for him. Normally, you would say the opposite, but they said, oh, it's a big win that he came here. Normally, we would say the opposite, he came here. I think that President Putin would like to see a deal. I think if I weren't president, he would take over all of Ukraine. It's a war that should have never happened. If I weren't president, in my opinion, he would much rather take over all of Ukraine. But I am president, and he's not going to mess around with me.
On Russia, Mr. President, would you support or agree to reducing NATO troops in Europe, in countries like Poland, in order to get Russia to agree to a peace deal?
That hasn't been put before me, and I'll think about that for later, but it has not been put before me. Go ahead.
Is anything less than an unconditional and immediate ceasefire a victory for the U.S.?
Tomorrow?
Yes.
Well, tomorrow we'll see. I say, I don't know where that comes from. It's sort of not a good question. I would say that tomorrow all I want to do is set the table for the next meeting, which should happen shortly. I'd like to see it happen very quickly, very shortly after this meeting. I'd like to...
Hey guys, I saw a comment, because a lot of them are like flying by me right now trying to catch up. Somebody asked how many ICE agents are there for every illegal immigrant. Let me see if I can ask AI if it'll give me a response. Let's see.
Welcome back.
Allow it. Let me fix the voice. I don't like this voice. Where's the voice I like?
Let's explore the world together.
Okay, very nice. Hey, can you give me the ratio of illegal immigrants to ICE agents?
Sure thing. As of 2025, with around 11 to 13 million undocumented immigrants and about 20,000 ICE agents, the ratio sits at roughly 600 to 1. So each agent would need to handle about 600 cases to manage the entire undocumented population. Want to dive into how effective this is or what it means for policy?
No thanks. Moving right along. Anyway, there's your answer, bud. Our AI buddy just helped us out.
See it actually happen maybe in Alaska where we just stay because it's so much easier. But I think that I think it's going to be very interesting. We're going to find out where everybody stands, and I'll know within the first 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 4 minutes, or 5 minutes, like we tend to find out whether or not we're going to have a good meeting or a bad meeting. And if it's a bad meeting, it'll end very quickly. And if it's a good meeting, we're going to end up getting peace in the pretty near future. Okay? How about one more?
Thank you, Mr. President. On the Smithsonian, I know that your administration is seeking to weed out a lot of this left-wing spin that's in the museums, but we're seeing from people like Brian Stelter or other commentators that they're insinuating that you are trying to change history according to your narrative. What's your response to that, and is there anything you particularly like to do?
Well, we want the museums to treat our country fairly. We want the museums to talk about the history of our country in a fair manner, not in a woke manner or in a racist manner, which is what many of them, not all of them.
In a woke manner.
Our museums have an obligation to represent what happened in our country over the years, good and bad, but what happened over the years in an accurate way. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you, press. Thank you, press. Thank you. Thanks, guys. Cut it out right here. Thank you, press. Thanks, guys. Cut out right this way, right this way. Thanks, guys. Keep coming.
See the video of the sandwich thrown at the officer?
Holy cow. I mean, they're serious, right?
Thank you very much.
Thanks, guys. Thank you, press.
Watching the footage afterwards, right, that you don't get to see. I mean, they are pushing him out of the room here. Jeez Louise. Well, there's a couple more things to take a look at here. But let's see. Any questions in the chat before we jump into it? Let's see. Don't stoop to the woke thing. Let me ask. Maybe that's a poll question. Are you woke? How about that? Are you woke? Are you woke? Oh, not just are you woke, but please comment why. Yes or no? All right, there we go. Guys, it's the official poll. This will determine the fate of the country. Are you woke? Yes or no? Already got a few votes coming in. Oh, we had a yes. Holy cow. Holy cow. Had a yes. Oh, they changed their vote. Maybe not. Are you woke? My goodness. Define woke. Well, maybe I should ask my AI buddy again to help me define that. Where did that thing go? Where did that thing go? Okay. Hello. I gotta refresh the AI thing. You gotta refresh it constantly. I don't know why.
Okay, so they sent to
Oh, okay. Well, hold on a second. Hang on, guys. Hang on. Let me see if I could sign in with some random account that I got here. Continue with Microsoft. Use a different account. Other accounts. Hang on, guys. Bear with me. Bear with me. It's happening. All right. Where is it at? Okay, there we go.
Hey, political.
All right. What was the question again? Oh, define. Okay.
Apolitical.
Hey,
Sure.
Can you define woke for us for the live chat?
Woke originally meant being aware of social injustices and inequalities, especially around issues of race and Woke originally meant being aware of social injustices and inequalities, especially around race and discrimination. Recently, it's also used more broadly to describe being attuned to various forms of social awareness and activism. It's kind of taken on a life of its own. How do you feel about the whole woke conversation?
Well, so far I put a poll out there for the live stream, and it seems that a lot of people are not woke. What do you think about that?
It sounds like your audience is expressing their opinions. Woke can be a polarizing term, and not everyone sees it the same way. It could be a reflection of differing values or experiences. What do you think? Is it sparking some meaningful discussion?
All right, we'll leave it there for now.
All right, political. We'll leave it there. Till next time.
Actually, I'm going to ask it one more thing here. Oops, sorry, the screen's all going crazy on us here. Hey, can you use my full name from now on?
Got it, political junkie. What's next?
I didn't know what the full name was, guys. All right, let's move this AI out of the way. I'm going to try and sneak. So I got a download of this, but it was only a clip, was not the full thing. So I'm going to try and bring up the C-SPAN site, because this is pretty important too. Gavin Newsom gave a talk on, well, let me bring it over so you can have something to look at here. Yeah, he gave a talk on what is the deal with him. Oh, well, get back in there. Wanting to run again. Well, not run again. Wanting to run against what the
Adobe Acrobat,
what the Republicans are putting out there from the state of Texas. Everything's kind of targeting Texas, as has been the case that, you know, the extreme left in California, you give it to Minnesota or anywhere else, has been kind of like a rallying cry for conservatives. On the liberal side, they're trying to do the same thing now. was Texas. And
coverage here on C-SPAN.
looking to find new congressional seats.
I'm the CEO of the Japanese American National Museum.
All right, so can you believe he played that song? This is America? My goodness. That's like the most anti-American song I've ever heard. All right, now there was a lot of speakers. I mean, I don't know if he was going potty and he couldn't show up. But look at this. So many speakers. Does he only talk for like 5 minutes? Oh, wait, we got Shifty. We need to listen to Shifty here. I feel like I said this earlier. All right, here we go. Shifty's coming up. Let's see what he's got to say about himself.
Thank you, Pete, and thank you for the amazing job that you do. Folks, we are at a precarious moment in our nation's history. All of us in this room who have lived in the generation post-World War II, we're used to growing up in a world of ever-increasing freedoms. We saw new democracies being born. We saw walls coming down. We saw our freedoms expand, the freedom to speak our mind or practice our faith or to love whom we would love. And we thought that this was inexorable, that it was like the moral arc of the universe always bending towards justice. Until suddenly we found ourselves in a world where it was not bending towards justice. Until suddenly we saw not new democracies being born, but new autocracies. Instead of seeing our own rights here at home expand, we saw them start to contract. And we have come to learn, much to our shock and astonishment, that this thing we call democracy is fragile. And now we are on the precipice of another great threat to our democracy, and that is this effort by Donald Trump and Republicans in Texas to take people's vote away, to make the votes of those in California worth less, by taking lines in Texas that are already horribly gerrymandered to elect Republicans and making them worse. This is a president who has never viewed himself as a president of the United States of America, but only as a president of some of the states and some of the regions that voted for him. This has never been the case in America. But I will say this, you come after our votes in California and we will fight you tooth and nail.
There's that phrasing, right? They're always fighting something. We will fight. I will fight. The fight doesn't stop. You need to get up and fight. I mean, what are we fighting? There's nothing to fight about here. We're just aggravating people, getting them all hyped up.
Donald Trump, you do not poke the bear. Not while we're around.
Lord. He's a real tough
and people
guy.
need to understand why he's doing this. They just passed in Congress the most reprehensible bill, their big ugly bill, that is raising health care costs for millions of people. It's going to cost millions of people.
Hey, help me out, guys. I need a little bit
As
more
we
of the
stand
likes
here
for the
today,
stream.
notices
If you
are
could
already
hit the like
beginning
button
to
if you're
go
on.
out
I'd appreciate
to tell
it.
people
About
their health
350
insurance
people
costs
on.
are going up by
Only 87 likes.
50%
I
or
think we can get
70%.
just a few more in there.
People now, parents that are off buying back to school things for their kids, are seeing backpacks up 30% because of his stupid tariff wars, and pens and pencils costing even more. They're having to tell their kids they can't engage in certain extracurricular activities because they just don't have the money. People losing their health care, their costs are going up. This guy ran on a plane.
Now, why is that? Why have costs gone up? The fact he can make that statement, costs are going up, and it'll be true because inflation is always over zero. It's never negative because, well, it has been at some point, but generally speaking, inflation is greater than zero from a percentage standpoint. So technically speaking, costs are going up. It's more important how quickly those costs are escalating. That's what's at issue here. Right now, it's within historical norms. During the Biden era, it was, the highest it's been since, the Jimmy Carter days of inflation.
Platform of bringing down the cost of the American people, and he's a failure. He's a failure. Costs continue to rise, but take solace in this. As you, the American people, are paying more and more for your everyday lives, Donald Trump's economy is going great. His personal economy is great. He's building a $200 million ballroom for himself. He just got his third Air Force One. He's making more money for himself and his family than he ever has in his whole life put together. He doesn't give a rat's ass about you. Not in California, not in Texas. He only cares about himself. It is his underlying corruption that is responsible for the reason why you are struggling hard to make a living. And we are going to fight back. We're going to make sure that here in California, your vote matters. If they're going to play with fire, we're going to fight fire with fire. And let me just say this to quote our wonderful governor, Donald Trump, thank you for your attention to this matter.
All right, I'm going to have to bring AI back into this, if you don't mind, because I don't believe the taxpayers are paying for that ballroom. It doesn't always have current events, but let's see what it comes up with. You still there, buddy?
I'm here, political junkie. What's up?
Can you tell me if the ballroom that is being renovated at the White House, is that being paid by tax dollars or is it being paid by the president's own private funds?
The White House is federally owned, so renovations are generally funded by taxpayer dollars. However, presidents sometimes use private funds or donations for certain projects or personal touches. Got more questions about the White House?
Specifically, this renovation of the ballroom, is it private donations and the president's funds?
Typically, any major renovations at the White House, like a ballroom, are funded by taxpayers. But sometimes, presidents use...
Okay, well, AI fail. So that was Copilot. That was Microsoft's AI. Let me get Grok up here. Grok. Need your help, Grok. Can I speak to Grok? Allow. Hey, Grok, you there?
Hey, yes, I'm here. What's up?
All right, so there's some renovations happening at the White House for the ballroom. I wanted to know if that's being funded by taxpayers or if it's private donations and from the personal funds of the president.
The White House ballroom renovations are being funded entirely by President Trump and other private donors, with no taxpayer money involved. The project, estimated at $200 million, is supported by these private contributions to cover the full cost.
Is this unprecedented?
No. Presidents have made changes to the White House before, like Truman's renovation or Kennedy's preservation efforts. But a $200 million ballroom funded by private donations is unusually grand in scale and cost. It's got people talking because it's so flashy, and Trump's pushing it hard.
All right, thanks, buddy.
You're welcome. Anytime. What's next?
So I'm nice to the AI because it actually gives me better answers. And then it like speaks to you nicely. I don't know, it's strange. Maybe it's just me, but that's just how I roll. So there you go, right? Quick debunking or fact check. That ballroom's being funded by Trump. Yeah, he may have gotten some private donors, which are his golfing buddies, but nonetheless, it's not paid by taxpayer dollars. So, like, I don't care if Pepsi sponsored it and they put a Pepsi logo in the corner. Taxpayers didn't pay for that thing.
It is now my great pleasure to recognize my wonderful colleague, Alex Padilla. Thank you, Alex, for all your amazing leadership.
I didn't think this guy would be here.
Padilla.
Man, I should show you the video.
And I have a question for the people of California.
Why is he always about to break down and cry?
Are we ready to stand up for our democracy? Are we ready to speak up for our democracy? Are we ready to vote this November and defend our democracy? I thought so. Look, let me also add a little bit more light as to why we are here in this moment. It's been nearly 7 months of this Trump administration. And when we stop and look at it, you can't help but come back to the words costs, chaos, and corruption. Right? The costs on working
Hey
families
guys, I'll
keep
be
going
right
up
back.
and
I
up.
gotta go rescue my dog real
These
quick.
failed tariff
Help him
wars
out.
are
I'll be
increasing
back.
costs for us. When you deport workers in agriculture and construction, you can't wonder why the cost of housing goes up and the cost of food goes up. Billionaires are getting their tax breaks, but working families are paying the price. Chaos. It's not just these on again, off again tariff wars out of the White House. It's what's happening as communities are terrorized in the city of Los Angeles, throughout the state of California, and beyond. That's right, when masked agents come out of unmarked cars and disappear people, that is intentionally created chaos. Violating the Constitution. Not just bad for democracy, it's also bad for the economy. But worst of all is the corruption. And I won't get into the ways that Donald Trump and the whole family is enriching themselves by leveraging this position. We're here to talk about what's happening in Texas and California as it pertains to redistricting. When Donald Trump calls officials in Texas and says, give me 5 more Republican seats, doesn't it sound the same as when he called the Secretary of State in Georgia after losing in 2020 and saying, find me 11,000 more votes? It's corruption. He's trying to rig the system. One of the earlier speakers said extraordinary times call for extraordinary measures because we're not living in normal times. In normal times, a political party in power would be proud of their accomplishments and they'd be running on their record asking for voters to keep them in power. That's not what's happening right now. With Donald Trump and complicit Republicans in Congress gutting health care, threatening Social Security, undermining the Constitution with this immigration enforcement deportation agenda obsession they have of 3,000 arrests per day. They know they're not just unpopular, they're wrong. And the only hope they have of keeping power next November is to rig the system. And so that's what they're doing. They're rigging the lines, they're rigging the system, they're trying to rig next year's election, and California's not going to stand for it. Como mi hermano David Huerta, unas palabras en español. Claro que se puede porque juntos podemos. Estamos aquí anunciando el esfuerzo que los líderes de California están listos de tomar para defender nuestra democracia nacional. Todo hay tiempo para los líderes de Texas que decidan hacer lo correcto y no entregarle a Donald Trump lo que él está exigiendo. Cuando él llama al gobernador y los legisladores de Texas diciendo, deme 5 más distritos republicanos, es como cuando llamó al secretario de Estado de Georgia después de haber perdido la elección el 2020, cuando les pidió, encuéntrenme 11,000 más votos. Estos no son tiempos normales. Tiempos normales en nuestro gobierno, nuestra política, es un partido en poder, orgullosos de sus logros, defendiendo su récord ante los votantes, pidiendo apoyo para seguir en la mayoría, seguir en el poder. Pero vean lo que ha ocurrido los últimos 7 meses. Recortes a programas de salud. Costos aumentando para familias trabajadoras cada día más. Poniendo en riesgo el seguro social. Bien saben que no es una agenda popular y bien saben que es una agenda dañosa a nuestro país. En vez de defender su récord, en vez de hablar de sus logros, quieren cambiar las reglas de nuestra democracia y quieren asegurar que los líderes en poder en Texas decidan las elecciones, no los votantes. Es un ataque a la democracia de Texas y de California y la democracia nacional. Pero en California nos vamos a parar, nos vamos a poner a trabajar y vamos a defender a nuestra democracia. Este noviembre los votantes de California van a determinar si seguimos con una democracia fuerte o no. Es la cuestión, la pregunta de hoy. So this November, the people of California will stand up and speak up and determine whether or not we defend our democracy, because California is proud to lead. California always leans in on the biggest challenges, not just for our state, but for our nation. And we're going to do it together, because a wise governor that I know is fond of saying, if you want to go far, go alone. Excuse me, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go fast, go alone, but if you want to go far, go together. And the person who has brought us together for this fight of all fights is our friend, Governor Gavin Newsom.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you guys for being here. Thank you.
When we fight, we win. When we fight, we win.
Thank you. Thank all of you. In the spirit of that African proverb that Senator Padilla was referencing. You want to go fast, go alone. You want to go far, go together. And I look back at this audience, and I look at all of you united in this cause, and I'm reminded where we are at this precious moment in time. We are in Los Angeles. The most diverse city in the most diverse county, in the most diverse state, in the world's most diverse democracy. And I've long believed that the world looks to us, to all of you, to see that it's possible to live together and advance together and prosper together across every conceivable and imaginable difference. What makes LA great, what makes California great, and what makes the United States of America great is that at our best, we don't tolerate our diversity, we celebrate our diversity. And it's a point of pride, because we're all in this together. Where are we? At Democracy Center. And right outside, at this exact moment, are dozens and dozens of ICE agents. Donald Trump, you think it's coincidental? Donald Trump and his minions, Tom Homan, tough guy, clearly decided, coincidentally or not, that this was a location to advance ICE arrests. Indiscriminate? Perhaps. We'll find out later. It was certainly indiscriminate when a 15-year-old disabled boy had a gun put to his head in Los Angeles trying to go to school just a few days ago. I met with it. I don't need to belabor this, except I want to level set. People are scared. People are fearful. You had a United States Senator that was thrown down to the ground in a federal building. Alex Padilla. J.D. Vance's name is Alex Padilla, not Jose Padilla. That's the Vice President of the United States. It's another museum not so far away from us. Talks about those 53 days. Some of you know what I'm referring to. Wake up, America. This is a serious moment. Wake up to what's going on. Wake up to the fear, the anxiety. Wake up to what's happening, not just here in Los Angeles, where we saw our streets militarized. We saw our due process rights thrown out the window. You heard the word disappeared. I was with a 12-year-old boy born in Oxnard, California, whose mother and father were disappeared. 20 years going to the same packing facility every single day. He didn't even know how to get back into his own home, into his own house. Had no brothers and sisters. He has now disappeared in an attempt to find his parents. That's Trump's America. That's the moment we're living in. So these are sober times. And so I'm deeply grateful to all of you for standing up and for being here today. I'm grateful for all the elected officials that are here, members of Congress, not just our 2 U.S. senators, to members of the California legislature for having the courage of their convictions, for standing tall and standing firm, to recognize today is Liberation Day in the state of California. And as Senator Schiff said, Donald Trump, you have poked the bear, and we will punch back. Here's the good thing about California, folks. We're the size of 21 state populations combined. We're the 4th largest economy in the world. We're not a small, isolated state. I know they say don't mess with Texas. Well, don't mess with the great Golden State. And so we're here with our state of mind, with the clarity of our purpose and conviction, to recognize that we need to reconcile the world we're living in. We do have agency. We're not bystanders in this world. We can shape the future, and that's what we intend to do today. We're here because Donald Trump, on January 6th, tried to light democracy on fire, tried to wreck this country, tried to steal an election, as Alex just said, by trying to dial in for 11, almost 12,000 votes. And here we are, in open and plain sight, before one vote is cast in the 2026 midterm election. And here he is once again trying to rig the system. He doesn't play by a different set of rules. He doesn't believe in the rules. And as a consequence, we need to disabuse ourselves of the way things have been done. It's not good enough to just hold hands, have a candlelight vigil, and talk about the way the world should be. We have got to recognize the cards that have been dealt. And we have got to meet fire with fire. And we've got to be held to a higher level of accountability.
Is this not inciting people to a pretty fair degree? Remember, this happened after the 2016 election. Get in the faces of, whether it was Supreme Court justice, the administration personnel, representatives, get in their face. You let them know. And again, you must fight. There's no alternative being presented is the problem I have. I wish this was kind of a back and forth of ideas and articulating why one was better than the other. But that doesn't happen because there are no ideas. None. It's completely void of any ideas. They've effectively outsourced their minds to PR firms who are telling them what to say now. Like, oh, this will play well. This will help with your communications, right? Your message will improve. And you hear them all the time say, like, I've got a lot of confidence in our message going forward. But the miss is that the message doesn't matter if there's no principle behind it. The message doesn't matter if there's no policy behind it, if there's no intent. If it's just lipstick on a pig, like, who cares? But that's what Gavin kind of strikes me as here. And he's doing this in a way that it's, I'm announcing to everybody without announcing it that I will be the president in 2028. I don't know. I think someone else is going to, pop up on us, whether it's Mayor Pete or someone else, but I don't think it's him. But this is what's happening right now. This is why he's doing this strong demonstration.
So that's what this is about. It's not complicated. We're doing this in reaction to a president of the United States that called a sitting governor of the state of Texas and said, find me 5 seats. We're doing it in reaction to that act. We're doing it mindful of our higher angels and better angels. We're doing it mindful that we want to model better behavior, as we've been doing for 15 years in the state of California with our independent redistricting commission. But we cannot unilaterally disarm. We can't stand back and watch this democracy disappear. We can't stand back and watch this democracy disappear district by district. All across this country, not just in Texas, but in Missouri, where J.D. Vance went just a week ago, in Indiana, in places like Ohio, in places like Florida. We need to stand up, not just California. Other blue states need to stand up.
Protections that
We're the fourth largest economy in the world in reaction to that act.
Sorry, fat finger error. All right, Route 99. Question for me here. It sounds like you're talking about MAGA bumper stickers. Oh, MAGA bumper sticker politics. Trump held emotion-filled rallies for years before the elections. Why take issue with Newsom? So, yeah, you want to connect with people, of course, not just in politics, but in any circumstance when you're articulating or speaking publicly, right, at work, whatever it is. If your audience is small or large, you need to make a personal connection and let them know you actually mean what you're saying. And so Newsom is doing that here. Trump did that. The difference, though, is like Trump had another basis that he was coming from. He said, I'm going to build a wall. And then people are like, yeah. And it's like, I'm tired of you guys having to get taken advantage of for XYZ. I'm going to build a wall. So those things were paired. I don't see that pairing here. The only thing I hear is the emotional the emotional hook onto people coupled with fight. I don't think that's a recipe for a beneficial future for anybody.
We're doing it mindful of our higher angels and better angels. We're doing it mindful that we want to model better behavior, as we've been doing for 15 years in the state of California with our independent redistricting commission. But we cannot unilaterally disarm. We can't stand back and watch this democracy disappear. We can't stand back and watch this democracy disappear district by district all across this country, not just in Texas, but in Missouri, where J.D. Vance went just a week ago, in Indiana, in places like Ohio, in places like Florida. We need to stand up, not just California, other blue states.
So again, another draw. There was emotion tied to it, but the concept of America first, like we need to put our own interests first. We got to stop doing everything for everybody. Let's take care of our folks first, and then we can kind of move on from there. We're not taking care of ourselves. We need to start taking care of ourselves. That's a principle that you can get people behind, and then action and emotion gets evoked for it, and the delivery supports it then. So that's the difference. I just see the emotional cries, which start, for me, sounding like rants, and not much more behind it.
Need to stand up. We need to be firm in our resolve. We need to put.
How much time is that?
So we're here in that light, and I'm grateful to have remarkable partners.
All right, guys, I gotta go help out my dog. So transparency for real. I got a blind dog, and he had to go to the bathroom outside earlier, so I just kind of walked him around and stuff, brought him back in. I got to go make sure he's doing okay in the rest of the house. He's sleeping and stuff. It just requires a little bit more monitoring. So I'll be right back. There's a bit longer left on this, but I'll be back. Just need a minute.
Legislature. It's a tall task. We're asking them for 2/3 of a legislative consent, but this is the difference. This is the difference between what's happening in Texas and what's happening here in California. We didn't receive a phone call from the President of the United States to then quietly go in the back room and start drawing maps and legislatively try to jam them through against the consent of the people. We're doing precisely the opposite. We're working through a very transparent, temporary, and public process. We're putting the maps on the ballot, and we're giving the power to the people. This will be the first redistricting that's ever done that. That's the difference. We tried to raise the standards, and these guys are not playing by any set of rules. So this time requires us to act anew, not just think anew. And so I'm grateful to all of the remarkable leaders that have stepped up this unifying effort here in the state of California. And we'll be asking for the people on November 4th, a special election coinciding with a lot of local municipal elections, to provide a temporary pathway for congressional maps. We will affirm our commitment to the state independent redistricting after the 2030 census, but we're asking the voters for their consent to do midterm redistricting in 2026, 2028, and 2030 for the congressional maps to respond to what's happening in Texas, to respond what Trump is trying to excite. And we'll do so in a way that also affirms our desire as a state to level the playing field all across the United States. We believe in a national independent redistricting framework. And we believe that's the right goal and the right thing to pursue. And I will just state for the fact, Zoe Lofgren, who runs our California delegation, she authored the bill. Democrats unanimously supported that National Independent Redistricting Commission. Republicans were nowhere to be found. They want to rig these elections, and they want the power that gerrymandering provides, because they know what Donald Trump knows. He's going to lose the midterms. He knows de facto his presidency ends in 17 months when Speaker Jeffries is back in office. He knows it. Why else would you try to rig the system? Why else would you make the phone call? He's a failed president. Who else sends ICE same time having a conversation like this? Someone who's weak. Someone who's broken. Someone whose weakness is masquerading as strength. The most unpopular president in modern history. An economy that's collapsing all around him. You saw the new wholesale prices going up almost a full percentage point today. Inflation is going up. Job creation is going down. He's trying to rewrite history, Smithsonian, censoring historical facts. And in the spirit of what Adam Schiff said, he's trying to put America in reverse on voting rights, civil rights, LGBTQ rights, on women's rights. He wants to bring us back to a pre-1960s world. That's what this is all about. It's about power. And I want to end on this. And we are about to give power back to the people. You have, on November 4th in California, you have the power to stand up to Trump. You have the power to declare that you support a system that is not rigged. You have the power on November 4th to stand up for people that are being bullied. You have the power to stand up for people that are being intimidated. You have the power to stand up to the rule of law. We're giving the people of this state the power to save democracy, not just in California, but all across the United States of America. I hope we are waking up to this reality. Wake up, America. Wake up to what Donald Trump is doing. Wake up to his assault. Wake up to the assault on institutions and knowledge and history. Wake up to his war on science and public health. In his war against the American people. This is a guy who lays claim to want to get a Nobel Prize, sitting there and bending his knee to Mr. Putin. You have the power to straighten this out. And so I want to again just thank everybody for exercising not just their formal authority, yes, that's what we're doing, but also sharing their moral authority at this moment. I want to thank everybody for being here today, for being here tomorrow, and most importantly, we're counting on all of you on November 4th to be there for each other.
Is the UK guilty of violating free speech?
I'm saying Satan. Thank you all very, very much.
What are they saying? Are they saying Pizza Planet? Like
Looking ahead at our
I
live
didn't quite
coverage
catch that.
today at
Sounded
4
like Pizza Planet to me. But all right, we got Trump's trade advisor here. Got mixed up with the press. Had some interesting comments for him.
After morning, I guess.
Let's have him hurry up here. Come on, buddy. Get up there. Get to the mic.
Hang on. I've got a mission here. What I want to talk about at some length is the pharmaceutical executive order that was signed yesterday by President Trump. After I get through that, happy to take any questions on that, and then happy to talk a little bit about the PPI. So let's stay focused on Big Pharma. The reality here, the top line is that Americans' medicine cabinets can't be dependent on foreign imports. We know that there's big...
Again, cannot be dependent on foreign imports for some of these critical things. We need to very quickly move the thought process and the culture of the United States to recognize that moving intellectual talent, moving intellectual capabilities, thought leadership, outsourcing that and being reliant on other countries for that type of design and engineering and just thought leadership in general, that's probably not a good recipe for a strong country going forward. So the manufacturing piece, very good. I'm glad they recognize that, but there's a lot more that needs to be done that extends beyond that.
Supply chain resilience issues there. And so what this executive order yesterday does is address this problem in three different ways. The top line here is we're creating a strategic advance.
I'm a parrot. I don't know. But thanks for the comment.
Pharmaceutical ingredient reserve. We're number one. Number two, we are trying to stabilize long-term demand through long-term contracts from the government, which is the biggest buyer of...
Comment. We live in a worldwide economy. That's a reality. It is. And I hope it's been revealed to everybody the trade imbalances that exist, the tariffs that are placed on the United States. So our products do not see overseas markets in the same way theirs see ours. For whatever reason, we've had this precipitous decline in trade negotiations over time that have put us in our current state where the world can just dictate terms. That's brought us to the point where we're at, the disparities, the economic disparities and so forth, because there's you outsource things, there's a higher level of expectation for people in general now, in terms of the price point and the cost that they get their goods for. And there's a correction that has to happen overall to kind of bring this all back. And I don't think it's going to be led by bringing factories and jobs back one for one. It's going to have to be bring the factories back, and the 3,000 person factory only has 30 people in it because the robots are doing everything to sustain that quality of life and to help uplift folks that are on the lower end of the bracket. So tax policy right now that was passed in the OBA, big beautiful bill. The tax policy is great, helps the lowest, the bottom 25% the most. But there's more that needs to come into play, and there's some cultural themes and tones that need to change as well. All right, let's let trade advisors go, because the PPI comments are going to be very interesting here. They just broke out today, spooked the market a bit, but it's a one-off. It could be a one-off, right? This is not like a leading indicator. You need multiple things to kind of point in a direction. This is a one-off at this point.
Pharmaceuticals. And three, the broader issue of regulatory reform. We are going to make it much easier for advanced manufacturing, continuous manufacturing, to occur here and make us competitive. So that's kind of the thrust of the EO. Now, here's the backstory for the American people. You have a process which goes in three stages. You have precursor chemicals, which are then turned into what's called advanced pharmaceutical ingredients. And these advanced pharmaceutical ingredients are then mixed and made into the finished dosage form of the medicines that you get, liquids, tablets, capsules, and everything in between. And historically, what we've had is a problem where, because of the dumping and unfair trade practices of foreign countries, we have not been good at the precursor chemicals or the API. In other words, the first two stages of the three stages that we need. As a practical matter, about 60% of our API is made in China and India gets most of its precursor chemicals from China. So that's the tech.
Pause really quick. Thank you for helping me get to 22,000 subscribers. If you haven't already, give it a like, subscribe. We will be getting our guest call-in capability back soon. It's just going to take me a little bit to find another vendor to help me out with that. But I'm very interested in getting others' opinions verbally, not just in chat. I appreciate the chat being interactive, but giving you an opportunity to voice your opinion as well. So that's coming up soon. And I just noticed another one, 22,003. I really appreciate it, guys. Thank you for that.
Book definition of strategic vulnerability. I encountered this in the first term with President Trump during the pandemic. I was what was called the Defense Production Act policy coordinator. It was my role to go out and get as quickly as possible the kind of PPE we needed. I had companies like Abbott come to me and say in order to make their test kits for the virus, they needed certain chemical reagents. I had to get that. And we learned after China threatened to drown us in a sea of coronavirus that we had significant vulnerabilities. The president signed an order, which I urge you to look at from the first term. It was drafted in my office, the Office of Trade and Manufacturing Policy, in that first term, that basically started us down the path we're on now today of mapping out all the critical medicines and things we need in order to keep Americans healthy. But when Biden took over, they let that ball drop, and we are in a situation now where we have to secure.
Interesting comment. Your dad says, which I assume you're not from the United States with this comment, it says, your country has passed the need to be a production economy. Of course, you're going to have to, of course, you're going to have an imbalance. You're the richest country in the world. All right. So what does that, break that down a little bit? I don't know if production country, I haven't framed things in that way. I know, I guess you're saying like China's a manufacturing powerhouse, right? India's got a ton of intellectual capital, right? Cranking people out of universities. Part of the problem too, because they're saying, oh, we have 6 million graduates coming out in the next 5 years. Give them the jobs. They'll do it, right? But does that mean allow that displacement to happen? So 6 million people, workforce from India, pop up. We had however many kids graduating from college, all those entry-level positions are gone overnight. They're sitting there with student loans, massive student loans. All the entry-level positions have moved away. And along with that, some of the additional middle-level positions, some of the middle management positions, some of the more senior management positions, senior capabilities will also move. And it doesn't, it's not just IT we're talking about here. This is like finance, banking, across the board, all kinds of stuff is moving. So, yeah, I mean, you look at it holistically, we are the richest country in the world, but we've, because of globalization, continuously and precipitously over time had, on average, I believe, a reduced standard of living for folks. Because you just look back not that long ago and, being able to buy a house, car, so forth, and, after 60s or what have you, was on a different level than it is now. A lot of these things are unreachable for kids that are graduating, or at least it seems like it is to them. So it's that kind of a bit of damage that's happened. It's caused the upper level to really balloon, squeeze the upper middle, squeeze the middle, and the bottom is expanding like nobody's business. So despite being the richest country on paper, it's not being felt like it has in the past. It's not as meaningful as it has been in the past. So we need to correct that. And so these policies, these tariffs, are an effort to address that. Manufacturing, I know it's old school for them and that's what they're familiar with and they're going after it. I understand that. They need to quickly shift into the new economy, new jobs, intellectual jobs, STEM jobs. That's the next wave of it that they got to take a look at. Otherwise, we're going to fall short on all of this.
Our pharmaceutical supply chain. So we take a three-pronged approach to this. Follow me closely here. Creating this strategic API reserve, the SAPR, right? We are going to do that. We're going to need a little extra help from Congress, which we're encouraging them to help fund this. Generically, we have, no pun intended there, we have a problem where we need all sorts of stockpiles, whether critical minerals, pharmaceuticals, whatever, and for whatever reason, the agencies don't get that. But we need to have that with 6 months of reserves. We need to be able to rotate stocks so everything stays fresh. So we're going to get that done. Secondly, as I spoke a little earlier, when foreigners dump products into our market, it makes it uneconomic for our domestic manufacturers to exist. And it's predatory pricing, particularly on the part of China. They have actually identified
predatory pricing.
Sectors like pharmaceuticals. They want us out of business here so that they can have their way with us and the world, essentially. So the way we're going to address that is to have the country's largest group of medicine buyers, which is the federal government, in the form of Health and Human Services, Veterans Administration, and the Department of Defense. They'll be issuing long-term, multi-year contracts for these critical medicines that we need so that producers have assurances that if they make the kind of investments that need to be made, that they will be rewarded with demand from the government. So that will stabilize that. Then third, again, during the first term, I got fairly active, good pun there, fairly active in advanced manufacturing for active pharmaceutical ingredients. And we were able to stand up some plants and get that moving along. But as always, one of the problems we have here in America when we try to meet our needs is that there's regulatory problems and delays, and we just have to get that stuff out of the way. So we're going to hit this with a three-pronged approach. Now, as I'm speaking, the Department of Commerce is also working on a Section 232 action on pharmaceuticals. And if, as is almost certain to be the case, the Department of Commerce finds that the flood of imports of pharmaceuticals into this country are indeed a national security threat, there will be tariffs. So today's EO coupled with tariffs will provide everything the private sector needs in order to bring home our pharmaceutical manufacturing. So this is a good day for America. America first, America pharmacies first, and that's where we're at. So I'll stop there and take some questions. Let's do pharma first, okay? Give me the courtesy of that, and then when you're done with those questions, I'll take one or two on the PPI.
Let me ask you about those tariffs that you just
Sure.
outlined. So would those sectoral tariffs be across the board in the sense that the tariff rate
See,
would be the same for
let me just stop you there.
or would it be country by country?
Let me stop you there. That's a work in progress. It's all contingent on the investigation, and all will be revealed when the investigation comes. As a rule, the way to think about this, as journalists, is the 301 actions by the USTR are generally, but not always, country specific, whereas the 232s are product specific. Okay? What else you got?
Would it distinguish
Yes, sir.
between generic pharmaceutical drugs and the patented or new high-end drugs?
Good question. The heavy focus is on the generics. The problem we have with generics is that they are generics and they have very, very low margins to make money on. So we tend dramatically to underproduce them here, whereas the patented ones, they have big margins and therefore more room to run here in the United States. Yes, sir.
So I just wanted to ask, you talked about incentivizing manufacturers for the pharmaceutical industry
Yes, sir.
to make things here. But to use that same model for the president's broader tariffs, he wants the tariffs, he wants U.S. manufacturing as a whole to come back to the states. But with the next administration, if those tariffs go away, isn't that incentive automatically gone? And then don't those jobs just instantly... Did
I hear a reporter in the pool actively advocating for a Republican president after 28? Is that what I hear, sir? Yeah, but that's the point. That's why you vote for Republicans. We bring jobs home, and we will provide stability to your medicine cabinet, to your automobile industry, and everything in between. So yes, we recognize that problem. I think one thing we learned, which I'll say in seriousness, is that the China 301 tariffs were so effective during Donald Trump's first term that the Biden administration kept them in place. It weakened them, but it kept them in place. I think who's ever in this House in January of 2029, and I hope and pray for this country that's a Republican, they will see that President Trump's tariff policies and strategies have totally transformed the manufacturing landscape here in the United States at the same time that they're providing literally trillions of dollars in order to give us tax cuts, pay for paying down our debt and everything in between. So yes, it'd be nice if we had 100% certainty, sir, but that's not where we're at. You've been patient here. We'll go here and then here.
What's your takeaway from this PPI report?
Sir, come on. You're violating the rule here, right? We're talking pharma. Yes, ma'am.
Outlined the long-term goal of these, but in the short term, concerns about increased costs for patients. What do you say to patients who are concerned that the pharmaceutical costs might rise as a result of these tariffs? And is there anything that the administration is planning to or could do to incentivize pharmaceutical companies from not passing along costs?
Well, look, the costs that you say, that's the rap we always hear, but we don't see that in the data. We didn't see it in the first term. So we can cross that bridge when we come to it. But I will say one of the things that President Trump is angry about, I think that's the right word, is the fact that Big Pharma uses the United States basically as its golden goose. It engages in what's called cross-subsidization across global markets. And because of our status in terms of income levels and how price elasticities work, we pay higher prices for drugs than foreigners in other countries do, where incomes are lower. That's just wrong. I mean, we're not here to make money for Big Pharma. We're here to protect the American people.
Mr.
All right.
Navarro, Kara from Lindell.
Yes.
How are you?
How's Mike doing?
He's doing very
All
well.
right.
Thank you so much.
How can I help
My
you?
question on the pharmaceutical initiative, how many American jobs specifically, do you guys have any information on how much that will create?
I'm going to leave that up to our Council of Economic Advisors. But what we're doing here is creating trillions of dollars of investment and millions of jobs. We'll get a good chunk of that. I think that this whole continuous advanced manufacturing revolution that this will help move forward will be a great thing for America. But the big beneficiary here is going to be Americans who need medicines. And this question earlier about what do you tell Americans about price? Look, if you can't get the medicines you need because foreigners are controlling that and using it to try to blackmail America, that's an untenable situation. All right, any more pharma questions? Anyway. All right, what would you like to say, Mr. Impatient News Nation?
Just wondering if you take away from that PPI.
Sure. Just briefly, look, if you look at it, this is the kind of thing I used to do in my previous life, wrote textbooks on economic indicators and things like that. What you want to see is whether the PPI numbers will move to the CPI, the Consumer Price Index, which is not always the case at all. We also know that the PPI is highly volatile. We also know there's going to be some people who are going to try to make it a tariff story, but if you peer beneath the hood of the numbers, there's nothing in there to suggest that tariffs were responsible for a number that was above estimates. So this is clearly a case where you just watch the data now, and you watch it really carefully. And as the boss says, let's see what happens. All right, thank you for being with you today.
Tariffs, what is it causing the PPI to go up?
Is the administration working on possible sanctions against Russia?
Done my duty. Thank you. Nice to see you. Thank you for being here.
Yeah.
You can on either side.
Is your mic on?
It's okay. No, all right. All right. You know who I am. Today we unsealed an indictment against two individuals, Jimmy Cherizier and a co-conspirator, Basil Richardson. It is a one-count indictment that was unsealed, and the one count has to do with conspiracy to violate the International Emergency Economic Powers Act, also known as IEEPA, IEEPA. Jimmy Cherizier is also known as Barbecue. Do we have his picture here? Yeah. Okay. He is a notorious gang leader from Haiti who has orchestrated and committed various acts of violence against Haitians in Haiti. He was sanctioned in 2020 by the United States government under the Global Magnitsky Human Rights Accountability Act. And that is an act that has to do with the president having the authority to sanction globally anyone who was involved in human rights abuses. Now, Cherizier is also known as Barbecue, and his indictment is the first indictment of an individual in the history of the Department of Justice who has been sanctioned under the International Global Magnitsky Human Rights Accountability Act. Now, in terms of background, Barbecue was a police officer in Haiti, but he led many campaigns of violence against Haitians in Haiti, including the notorious La Saline attack in 2018. Notorious because he both planned and participated in the killing of approximately 71 Haitians. It is a turf war that has shocked the human rights activists in the world. His co-defendant, Basile Richardson, grew up in Haiti with Cherizier. He is a naturalized U.S. citizen who is living in North Carolina. He was also indicted under that same one count, and he is indicted for sending money to Cherizier, sending money from the Haitian diaspora in the United States to Cherizier. And knowing that Cherizier was sanctioned under that 2020 Magnitsky Act. Now, apparently he was a trucker who, although he was from North Carolina, was just picked up in Texas. Now, one of the things that is extremely important that you'll be hearing about from my law enforcement partners here is that the State Department has designated a $5 million reward for information leading to the arrest and or conviction of Cherizier. Now, I want to let the public know that anyone who is giving money to Cherizier, also known as Barbecue because of his violent acts in his home country, cannot say, I didn't know that he was sanctioned by the U.S. government. They will be prosecuted, and we will fine them because they are supporting an individual who is committing human rights abuses, and we will not look the other way. Now, this office is not unfamiliar with crimes of violence in Haiti. Several months ago, we got a conviction against an individual by the name of Jolie German, who was involved in the kidnapping of 16 American Christian missionaries in Haiti. Haiti is a hot spot right now, and I don't use that as a pun on words, but there is incredible violence going on there, which is why the State Department has gotten involved and why we have made the decision to make it very clear under the Magnitsky Act that we're coming after you if you give money to Cherizier. Now, I'd like now to call upon my partners, Acting Assistant Director of the FBI, Darren Cox. Okay.
Hi, good afternoon. I'm Darren Cox. I'm the Acting Assistant Director of the FBI's Criminal Investigative Division. I want to thank our partners here with us today and our international partners for their hard work and partnership in combating transnational organized crime, which threatens the safety and security of communities both in the United States and abroad. Under Director Patel's leadership, the FBI is focused more than ever on crushing violent crime, cartels, and gang activity every single day. Since January, the FBI, with the help of our law enforcement partners and community members, have arrested 3 top 10 fugitives. We've arrested over 19,000 criminals, and we've seized thousands of tons of narcotics, which have saved millions of lives across the United States. The American public and criminals should know our agents and our partners are using every tool available to keep put criminals behind bars and keep America safe, and we will not stop. We stand shoulder to shoulder with the men and women of law enforcement, backing good cops. Without hesitation, they're taking the fight directly to the criminals, and they're restoring order. These efforts are a deliberate and coordinated plan to protect our communities and confront escalating threats from foreign terrorist organizations like Viva Unsoon and its associates. Tackling these networks means addressing every link in the chain, every cell, especially in the United States. As you've heard in today's announcement, that includes a $5 million reward for key members of Viva Unsoon and Jimmy Shazier, also known as Barbecue. We know someone has information that can help end this violence, and we want them to come forward and know that they are safe in doing so. Today, I want to highlight the amazing work the FBI and our law enforcement partners do every day to disrupt and dismantle violent criminal networks, just like that of Barbecue and his cronies. Our FBI Miami office has worked closely with our international partners to track down Shazier and his Viva Unsoon partners and associates in the United States. On July 23rd, one of Shazier's most trusted associates and a named co-conspirator was taken into custody. Brazier Richardson was investigated by Miami, and he was arrested by our FBI Houston office without incident. Violent actors like Shazier and the rest of his criminal associates must understand there is no safe haven for them and the people like them that traffic violence in our communities. The FBI and our partners will continue to leverage all of the resources available and the expertise that we have to bring these people to justice. We urge anybody with information related to Shazier or any of his criminal network to contact the FBI through our TIPS line or our local field office. You can also call 1-800-FBI, and you can go online to fbi.gov/tips. Together, we will stop this violence. Thank you.
All right, and now Assistant Director of HSI, Ivan Arvello.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Ivan Arvello, Assistant Director for Homeland Security Investigations. The unsealing of this indictment marks the culmination of a nearly 3-year investigation into Jimmy Shazier's illicit activities and involved identifying Shazier's firearm procurement and trafficking networks, fundraising operations, and the movement and misuse of U.S. dollars in violation of U.S. sanctions. These actions fuel gang and terrorist operations that have oppressed and devastated the Haitian people. Shazier's shift from Haitian law enforcement to violent gang leader was marked by his alleged involvement in the 2018 La Saline massacre. This horrific event resulted in 71 murders and the destruction of 400 homes, as civilians residents of La Saline neighborhood in Port-au-Prince were caught in the middle of a gang battlefield with chaos and destruction. Over the years, international organizations have linked Shazier to several additional instances of human rights abuses. Today marks a significant step in bringing his reign of terror to an end. It's the principal investigative component of DHS, responsible for investigating, disrupting, and dismantling transnational criminal organizations and terrorist groups who are seeking to exploit the customs and immigration laws of the United States. HSI worked with our federal partners to identify Shazier's various methods and networks, using U.S. assets and financial institutions to fund this gang, procure weapons of war, and extend its power. This type of investigation falls under HSI's counterproliferation and export enforcement mission to detect, disrupt, and dismantle illicit procurement networks operating on behalf of foreign adversaries, terrorist groups, and transnational criminal organizations. These criminal groups utilize complex strategies to acquire American weapon systems, sensitive technology, financial assets, and other resources to commit crimes across the Gulf, endangering Americans both domestically and abroad. This case has been a great example of federal law enforcement agencies working together to leverage each other's strengths and unique authorities in furtherance of a common goal, promoting national security and pursuing a barbaric warlord who used our nation's resources to commit acts of violence and terror. I'd like to extend my most heartfelt thanks to our federal law enforcement partners at the FBI, the DEA, the ATF, the Department of State, the U.S. Attorney's Office for Washington, D.C., and the Department of Justice National Security Division for the invaluable partnership and relentless efforts in making this indictment happen. Thank you, and good afternoon.
And finally, Chris Landberg, State Department Senior Bureau Official.
Good afternoon. Thank you, U.S. Attorney Bureau, for hosting us. Thanks to our law enforcement partners. Again, I'm Chris Landberg. I'm the Senior Bureau Official of the Bureau of International Narcotics and Law Enforcement Affairs at the State Department. We're known as INL. Today, the Department of State, along with our federal law enforcement partners, is taking action to protect our nation, to protect the American people, and protect the hemisphere from foreign terrorist organizations, or FTOs. The Department of State is announcing a reward offer of up to $5 million for information leading to the arrest and or conviction of Haitian gang leader Jimmy Cherizier, also known as my colleagues have said, by the name Barbecue. And there's a poster right here related to this reward offer. We're offering this reward for Cherizier under the Transnational Organized Crime Rewards Program because he is the leader of Vive Ensemble, which was designated by Secretary of State Rubio as an FTO and specially designated global terrorist organization in May of this year. As Secretary Rubio declared in his designation announcement, the age of impunity for those supporting violence in Haiti is over. We seek the public's help in bringing Cherizier to justice for not only the people of Haiti, but also to prevent the spread of Vive Ensemble's unchecked violence throughout the hemisphere, including affecting the United States. His reign of terror and mass violence against Haiti must end. The instability resulting from his actions has the potential to drive illegal immigration to our borders and increase transnational crime. The State Department will continue to apply its tools, including rewards programs, to combat the scourge of transnational organized crime and associated violence, and especially to stop the worst of the worst criminal ringleaders threatening the people of our hemisphere. So I'm going to repeat the information mentioned by my colleagues. If you have information, please contact the FBI at 1-800-CALL-FBI or HSI at 1-866-DHS-2-ICE. Help us find and convict this menace to the hemisphere, Jimmy Cherizier. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Questions?
Given the violent crime in D.C. that is being cracked down.
Okay. I'm happy to talk about violent crime in D.C., and I'm going to. I have some posters to show you. But anything on Cherizier?
Are there any plans by President Newsom to send American forces to Haiti to retrieve this man?
Want me to take that?
Yeah.
So the U.S. government, in a collaborative fashion, is supporting both the Haitian National Police and the multinational security support mission to help stabilize Haiti and create the conditions conducive for the holding democratic elections in the country. That is what we are doing. We are doing this mainly through foreign assistance and through technical assistance from our law enforcement partners. That is the strategy of the U.S. government right now. So the point of the rewards offer is to get information about these individuals, and then we are working very closely with Haitian National Police. So that is one of the mechanisms. If we can get information, the individuals can get up to $5 million. Our U.S. law enforcement colleagues will work with Haitian National Police and will arrest this individual and incarcerate him.
I have a question about the co-defendant. You said he was picked up in Texas, right? I noticed in the indictment he's a naturalized citizen, and there's been an effort by this administration to, in some cases, denaturalize people who are convicted of crimes. Is that something on the table that you'll be looking to do once he goes through the judicial process?
Well, I think it's a little too early now to really comment on that. I think right now our goal is to get a conviction here, and then we'll make a decision as to what's appropriate. There's a lot of steps before you even get to that. Anything else on Cherizier?
Do you
plan to invite other Haitian gang leaders? Is this just the beginning? Do you have any sense of where he might be?
If we knew where he was, I wouldn't tell you. I'd go over there myself. No. Right. That was a joke. We certainly have some information, but, we need whatever information we can get from the public. We don't have him in our custody. That's all I can say right now. Do you want to add anything to that, guys? Okay. All right. Greg, anything? All right. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Put that.
Don't take the postage just yet. Can we get food issues? Thank you. Are you done with
Yep, no, hold on a second. Give him that one if he wants to look at that. Put that over there. Can you help, Sloan? Sure. They want to put that over there. Put this up. Thanks. Thank you very much. All right. Are you done? Over here?
We'll have them up here for you guys to shoot afterwards.
Yeah, they'll be here. You can take a look at them. There's been a great deal of discussion.
Can we get you at the mic?
You want me at the mic?
If you could hold.
There's been a great deal of discussion about crime in the district. And the other day, I wanted to get a sense of what is actually happening in the District of Columbia. I asked for the number of teens who have been shot and killed by gunfire. Teens, everyone under the age of 20. As you can see, in 2024, we have, I believe I said it was, how many? As you can see in 2024, we have 29 individuals who were shot and killed in the district, all teens, some as young as 3 years of age, okay, because of gunfire. Some of these cases are solved, some of them are not solved. But what this makes clear to me is that there is a whole community that is suffering because of the violent crime in this district. And anyone who wants to tell me the crime is down and that we don't need an emergency focus on crimes of violence, all they need to do is take a look at this and talk to the loved ones and the family members of these individuals, all shot and killed long before their time. Now, over here are the individuals who were shot and killed under the age of 20, all teenagers in 2025. And the number here is 16. Again, all members of the minority community here. I don't know how many of these cases have been solved, but what I can tell you is, again, it's guns on the streets. It's individuals who are not concerned about accountability, who don't have any reason to fear law enforcement. I am here today to tell you that on behalf of all of these victims, all of these families, that they're going to be accountable, that we are going to make a difference, and that we are going to make sure that law enforcement is focused on these innocent, now silent victims of crime in the district.
Do you have a per capita breakdown? I mean, how does D.C., if you're talking about the number of teenage gun deaths here, how does that compare per 100,000?
Anywhere else?
Where do we rank?
All I know is we rank in deaths. 2 years ago, we were one of the fourth highest. We were the fourth highest in the United States. I don't need any more statistics. All I need are people to recognize that these were vibrant human beings cut down because of illegal guns. I guarantee you that every one of these shootings was with an illegal gun. All right? And I guarantee you that every one of these individuals was shot and killed by someone who felt that they were never going to be caught. And I want to send a message that we are going to catch you, that we are going to change the laws, that if you're 14, 15, 16, 17, we're going to bring you into the justice system. No more of this D.C., counsel, if they're under 16 or if they're under 19 or if they're under 25, we'll give them probation. No more. I'm done with that.
You talked about the judicial hurdles that you face, and you're just talking about it right there, but what can you conceivably do as the D.C. U.S. Attorney to address those laws, address the D.C. Crime Lab, which is not accredited, and also at the same time address some of the prosecutorial issues you've talked about?
Okay. Those are great questions. Number one, the D.C. Crime Lab is now accredited and validated very recently. So Dr. Diaz has communicated that to us, and we are working with the D.C. Crime Lab. Our concern is making sure that we have enough people who are able to analyze the DNA and all of the testing that we need to have done. That's number one. Number two, as it relates to prosecution, I have been very clear that Title 16 is not enough. Under Title 16, if you are 16 or 17 years of age, we can get you for rape 1, murder, robbery 1, burglary 1. But if you shoot someone and don't kill them, I don't have jurisdiction. It goes to the Attorney General, the State Attorney General, Brian Schwab, and the focus is family court rehabilitation. Now, I was a family court judge in New York for a short period of time. The mission there is not punishment, it's rehabilitation, as evidenced by, do we have those posters? Yeah, we had a poster with what you get is yoga, and you get ice cream socials in family court. Well, I'm done with yoga and ice cream socials. We've got to change the law to bring them into the justice system. We've got to get rid of the 3 statutes or 3 laws passed by the D.C. Council. Number one is the Youth Rehabilitation Act, where you basically say with the Youth Rehabilitation Act that what we're going to do is we're going to say, if you're sentenced and you're under the age of 25, that the judge can give you probation irrespective of what the crime is. That's nonsense. And that's why a judge, and you're tired of hearing about me say this, that's why a judge gave a 19-year-old 2-3 weeks ago, and I wrote an op-ed piece, gave a 19-year-old probation, and I understand it's 2 years probation to go to college with no mandate, for getting on a public bus with an illegal gun, shooting an individual in the chest, which to me is intent to kill. And he walked away, after we convicted him, he walked away with no jail time. If that's what you want in this district, then I'm the wrong person to be United States Attorney. Number one, the Incarceration Reduction Act. The Incarceration Reduction Act that the D.C. left-leaning council passed says if you're 25 years old and you were sentenced to 15 years as a young kid for probably murder, even a serial murderer, we can let you out if you're 25. We can let you out because, not because you're rehabilitated, not because the offense wasn't that bad, but because we can. And that's got to go. All right? And the third thing is record sealing. I go through all of the effort to get a conviction, and they want to seal the convictions. They want to say, we want to seal convictions after 5 years. If I'm a mother, and thank God my kids are older, if I'm a mother, I want to know if a nanny has an assault conviction. If I'm an employer, I want to know if this person has been convicted of larceny or petty larceny. Or if, say, I'm not in a public school, but I got a private, teaching a tennis group. I need to know if this guy's a predator, a pedophile. Everything about the D.C. Council's focus is defendant-oriented. I'm oriented to these people, and the people of the district are as well.
Special powers under this federal takeover that you can, you talked about a little bit, well, you talked a lot about this, but any special...
I don't have any special powers. I wish I did.
Can you talk about where you stand on hiring prosecutors and judges?
I am, I am, I'm not going to bore you with the facts. Don't quote me on that. That was off the record. I can only hire during certain periods once there's been an ad or some kind of posting, and then I can hire. Okay, I'm doing it. I'm doing the best I can. The president has given me the permission to hire. This is an office that has been neglected, and I'll say it publicly. It's been neglected. With people signing contracts, they didn't know what they were signing. All right, it just kind of ran on its own. Not anymore. This is an office where nobody seemed to care that we were down 90 lawyers, 60 investigators, and paralegals. I do. And so my effort is to get people who want to work in the nation's capital, who want to work in the largest United States Attorney's office in the country, and the best office. Because we're not just federal prosecutors, we're local prosecutors. We get down and dirty in street crime. And that is what really motivates a lot of my prosecutors.
Talking about that street crime, everything like to see from the punitive aspect. What about preventative? Do you or the president plan to do anything to address the root causes of crime in D.C., such as truancy?
My job is to try to heal the victims and prosecute the criminal. Everybody else can deal with rehabilitating the individual. I honestly am not concerned about why they commit crimes. My concern is if they commit crimes.
The rest
my
button.
Concern is the victims of the crimes. That's my job as a U.S. attorney. Go ahead.
Every single one of these cases is a felony one. And right
Yeah.
now, D.C. Superior Court judges are scheduling felony one trials in 2027, in part because there are 13 vacancies right now that's going to grow in January. The president has only nominated one D.C. Superior Court judge. It's a process that takes a while with Congress because of D.C.'s rules. Are you going to talk to the president about this? Is the White House moving forward with more nominees? You're going to need these judges to get these done.
As recently as yesterday, I spoke with the president, and I have spoken to the president before about these vacancies. The president wants these vacancies filled as soon as possible because, like everyone in this room, it's common sense. It's not fair to the victims, to the families. It's not fair to the defendant. Why should the defendant who's charged with a crime have to live with a case for 3 years because there's not enough judges? We're all on the same page about what makes sense and what's fair. And so we're working on that. There's a whole thing with the Judicial Nominating Commission, and then they have to get approved, and then we have to get the Senate to approve.
When can we expect step one?
You can ask the Senate.
No, the names from the president. He has to know. When can we expect names?
Soon. Very soon.
Weeks?
Soon.
Wait, that question, guys. We're all out of time.
Okay, you're out of time? That means he's had enough. Goodbye. Thank you. I want you to report on
But
this.
you said
This is important.
You said it's guns on the street that's causing this problem. Are you concerned that the DOJ's funding cuts to gun violence prevention programs
Oh, stop it. We are putting all kinds of resources onto the street.
You believe that? I don't know if you guys heard that.
Thanks.
Hailing the drop in crime rates at the end of it. What changed?
It's never enough. This changed. This changed. It's never enough. You tell these families crime has dropped. You tell the mother of the intern who was shot going out from McDonald's near the Washington Convention Center, oh, crime is down. You tell the kid who was just beat the hell and back with a severe concussion and a broken nose, crime is down. No, that falls on deaf ears. And my ears are deaf to that. And that's why I fight the fight. Thank you.
I find it odd when there's a reporter. I don't think I caught the lady's name, but you could hear her voice. It's constantly throwing something back at her and being a contrarian. She could have said anything. She's just going to be a contrarian because it's Judge Piero. She's been on TV. She's very well known. They just want to get a soundbite out of her. Maybe they did, but it's not the kind that she would have wanted. She wanted her to be stumped, right? She wants her to be like speechless, and I'm the reporter that got her. But is that really reporting? I don't think so. It's not really what I'm after. But all right, I'm going to do a quick scan of ground news, see what the top stories are right now going into early Friday. Let me bring it over here. See if I could show it. Why is it so... That's strange. Hang on. Let me see if I can fix this sizing. All right, well, that size is better. And all right, almost getting there. Okay, maybe this is good enough. I don't know. All right, top story. Attorney General Bondi names DEA head as DC's emergency police commissioner. All right, not sure what that's going to entail, but all right. Trump demands Elizabeth Warren take a drug test. Interestingly enough, 79% of the story is being carried by the right versus almost no one on the left. I wonder why. Not a politician, father of young cancer survivor DJ Daniel runs for Texas 18th district seat. Oh, wow. You guys should check out the District 31. Who's running in that race? I'm not going to say it, but who's running in that race in Texas? Okay. Trump nominates prosecutor, Minnesota shooting suspect. Oh, interesting. Trump wants to grant journalists access to Gaza so they can get a first-hand look of what's going on the street. That's an interesting one. I wonder what that's all about. I mean, good in sense of transparency, but I don't know. Newsom calls for November 4th special election in California on partisan redistricting plan. DeSantis announces plans for a second immigration facility, so Alligator Alcatraz Part 2. All right, guys. I'm getting pretty tired. Thanks for sticking around. Had a few hiccups earlier with the tech not being there. I'll find a different streaming provider, get up and running again with some guest call-ins. Sorry I wasn't available this evening, but I appreciate just over 94,000 of y'all stopping by, take a look. Hopeful we can get more likes going into the future, but I appreciate you guys. Thanks for sticking around. I will see you very soon, I'm sure.
In the shadow she lurks, a digital sage. Her words cut through like a sharpened blade. Political cow, her voice brings rage. A rebel in the neon-born parade. With a keyboard she wields her might, piercing lies with truth's own light. Drifting through the endless night, exposing wrongs to make them right. Political cow calling out deceit through the screens where fake news meet. She saves us from the twisted tale. Her knowledge fights where logic fails. In a world where falsehoods grow, her wisdom like the wind it blows through every corner, every show, a beacon where the lost clouds glow. Political cow calling out deceit through the screens where fake news meet. She saves us from the twisted tale. Her knowledge fights where logic fails. truth gets blurred. Her voice is the sword we've heard, cutting ties with every absurd, leading flocks with every word. In a world where falsehoods grow, her wisdom like the wind it blows through every corner, every show, a beacon where the lost grounds glow. Political cowboy out to sea, through the screens where fake news meet. She saves us from the twisted tale. Her knowledge fights where logic fails. In a cycle where truth gets blurred, her voice is the sword we've heard, cutting ties with every absurd, leading flocks with every word.